This is Classic Plus. Whether we want to admit it or not, Season of Discovery's Phase 8 with the Scarlet Enclave and New Avalon is the beginning of Classic Plus. And I want to talk about and break down how Scarlet Enclave and New Avalon feel for the most part, with a little bit of quests and the storylines, the new raid itself, to the new zone. So right off the bat, you have New Avalon, a brand new zone. Yes, it's a take of New Avalon from Wrath of the Lich King, the Death Knight starter zone, but they expanded upon it, they changed it, they did tweaks to it to make it more in tune with Season of Discovery. And it's also one of the first times we actively get to partake in Scarlet Crusade prioritized content. The Scarlet Crusade for the most part has been a backdrop, a back burner of content. Essentially, here's the Scarlet Crusade, quickly deal with them so you can get to the main point. This is the main point. The Scarlets are the focal point. And for the very first time, we got official new content in vanilla. Now, phase 1, 2, 3, you had Nomerigan, BFD, you had the incursions, you had other little things that happened in Season of Discovery that were quotation marks new content. But this is the first time we got official new content that was a new zone, an original new raid in Season of Discovery, in the vanilla world. And that is a huge first step forward, which then brings me on to the brand new legendary. I'm gonna touch on the raid in a second, but the new legendary Ashbringer is pretty goddamn cool. Is it the most amazing weapon known to mankind? No. But much like Atiesh was the legendary you gave to your best raiders at the end of vanilla in preparation for TBC, the Ashbringer itself is another cool weapon that lets people fulfill that iconic class identity. People have been wanting a new legendary in vanilla for a very, very long time. People have theory crafted the old necklace coming back, the little necklace from Molten Core that only one person in the world has, things of that nature. But they went above and beyond and gave us the Ashbringer. Sadly though, I don't think it's purified. I think it's just the corrupted Ashbringer, but legendary corrupted Ashbringer. But it might be purified Ashbringer, but nobody actually has it yet, so I can't really speak on that. And you know what else is legendary? Hitting that subscribe button. Which brings me to the Scarlet Enclave. And yes, overtuned, difficult, stressful, it's not vanilla, it's too hard, it should be harder. A lot of different points of view there. I'm not really going to address the difficulty as much, but I will touch up on it later. It's 8 new bosses for the most part. Yes, not every boss is what people would consider brand new, they're mostly human models, but Lillian Voss, we got to experience her as a character for the first time before her undeath, before her becoming a Forsaken. We get to learn more about the Scarlet Crusade before Wrath of the Lich King and the Scarlet Onslaught. We get to defeat Balnazar, which by the way, he just flies away. Like, oh mortals, you haven't defeated me. You will see me again in Legion where you actually kill me this time. Okay, Balnazar, get your bat ass out of here. You then have Beatrix. Now, Beatrix was the major point of contention for most people. As the second boss, her mechanics were cool, her mobs were cool, the whole instance and design was cool. But her being the second boss was not cool. She was beyond overtuned for most classic players, just difficult and frustrating. And it wasn't well described and outlined how to make the fight doable or operable, because you had to talk to NPCs, do things, kill mobs in certain orders to make her a more clearable and enjoyable fight. But she got nerfed down to oblivion. As the second boss in the raid, her being that difficult was a mistake, which they addressed relatively quickly. If she had been the 6th boss, I don't think there would have been anywhere near as much drama or controversy, but the fact that most people spent the first week wiping for 5-6 hours on Beatrix, you can see the point of frustration of how she was designed. But everyone else, from Solistraza to Mason to Calderan, the fight, the design, the Reborn Council, very, very enjoyable, and in my personal opinion, might be crucifiable to the player base. I think hard raids are okay. The whole point of vanilla being easy content was because it's been out for 20 years. People would go in there, they knew everything. Of course the fights were easy. But you say that, then you look at Anniversary and guilds are disbanding in Blackwing there because they can't clear them. The hardest part of vanilla has always been getting 40 people into a raid together to do the mechanics properly. Be geared enough to beat DPS checks, for example Velstraza. And a lot of people struggle to do the bare minimum for their guilds. Vanilla is easy, but people should still have to try a little bit and be somewhat good at the game. If it's an easy game, it should not be hard for you to put some effort in. Now that's not to take away from Scarlet Enclave being overtuned, that's a different problem. but I like harder raids, I like harder content. I like that sense of progression, that sense of actually clearing things. I don't want retail mythic level raiding. I do not want that in vanilla whatsoever. But a harder form of raiding is appreciated, especially at the end of Season of Discovery. This is the last tier. A lot of people struggle to clear Nax in original vanilla. And heck, even in 2019, Nax was still the barrier of entry for most guilds. A lot of guilds disbanded on Nax and joined bigger, better guilds. It's just the way of things. It's always been that way. But the fact that the very first raid they did had problems is okay. Like I said, this is Classic Plus. Whether anyone wants to admit that or not, it is. Scarlet Enclave and New Avalon is the first original plus content to vanilla. By definition, it's Classic Plus, even if it isn't. Now, when we get Classic Plus next BlizzCon, whether they call it Azeroth Reborn, Azeroth Retold, Welcome to Azeroth the 17th time, whatever they call it, this was the beginning of Classic Plus here. All the testing and sod, all the information, all the things they've learned will hopefully make Classic Plus a better and more enjoyable experience. Which brings me on to new lore and storylines. We get to learn so much more about the Scarlet Crusade, about the stories of vanilla, from going to Hydril to purifying the Ashbringer and the giant slime, to learning more about the mysteries of Azeroth, to Xal'atath herself and her shadowy minions in Void, which still hasn't been finished, by the way. I really want to know the ending to that story and what Xal'atath is actually doing and whispering to people. So many little storylines and arcs have been expanded upon. The expansion of vanilla is what makes Classic Plus Season of Discovery so exciting and enjoyable to me. I love vanilla's world more than anything else. I love and adore this location, this part of World of Warcraft's history, and I want to know more about that. From Calderan and us defeating Balnazar to getting betrayed and the Scarlet Enclave and then having to fight the Scarlets to all the little story beats. I love it. I just want more of it. My biggest complaint with Season of Discovery is I want more Season of Discovery. I want a Phase 9, 10, 11, 12. I want a Classic Plus. I want so many stories. I want to do what Necrit did, but in vanilla stories. I want to go into the lore. I want to experience that. So, is Scarlet Enclave in Phase 8 perfect? No, of course not. There's a lot of mistakes. New Avalon needs more content. It's somewhat bare bones, the content's fun, the daily is decent, but as far as a brand new zone goes, it is somewhat lackluster. But the devs themselves even admitted, Phase 7 was meant to be the last phase, Phase 8 was essentially meant to be the 0.5 phase, 7.5 was the original intent. It was a 5-boss dungeon. New Avalon and all that location stuff was added initially for the dungeon, don't get me wrong. They made this kind of like a big send-off patch. And then they decided, let's do more. And they turned it into a raid, adding all that content and gear and all that stuff. They put the effort in to make a dungeon, then went above and beyond to make a raid. And they did this relatively fast. Imagine if they had put the time they could have put in a whole phase, a whole expansion into this. Imagine the content we would have gotten. Imagine the amount of new zones, the amount of new storylines, the amount of new quest lines we could have gotten to enjoy. And we know that the dev team, the classic dev team in particular, has increased in size recently. I don't know the exact amounts, but for the most part, for a very long time, they're operating at what, 10 to 15 employees in the classic dev team? That number might be close to 30 to 50 now. Might even be more than that. We don't know the exacts because they're not really showcasing the employee names and badges to everybody on the internet. A lot of people don't want to be known. You know, they keep that life of them private. So we don't know the exact amount of employees that the classic dev team has. But it's no longer 10 or 15. They've grown quite a bit since then. So this is what we're getting with a very, very small dev team. There are private servers out there, one that starts with T, that has about 60 something employees. I think more than that. A lot of other games and teams have huge employee pools. The classic dev team is tiny and they've just grown. So if this is what they give to us with a very small team, imagine what we could get in the future. If this is the beginning of Classic Plus, imagine the future of it. If they're taking 18 months to make Classic Plus, which I hope it's not that long, but being that long is actually good because it means it's going to be a more fleshed out, well-designed, thought out experience from the get-go. Because as we know, Season of Discovery was essentially 30 to 60 days ahead at most of the time. They didn't really have a huge lead up. When they made Phase 1, they were about 60 days ahead of time. So from Phase 1 to Phase 2 to Phase 3 to now, devs have barely been a month or two ahead of development and launching of content. That's why Phase 3 was so rough. They needed time to keep making the content. So if they take 18 months to make Classic Plus officially, yeah, it sucks for us all. But at least you can imagine and hope that the launch and the entire experience is going to be phenomenal. But for me, Phase 8, the Scarlet Enclave, New Avalon, and essentially all of this has been an enjoyable dipping of my toes into the Classic Plus ethos, the Classic Plus vibe and feel. It isn't perfect, and I really didn't expect it to be, I'm not gonna lie to people. It being as good as it is was kind of surprising. So I am really looking forward to the future, and I hope you guys are as well. So thank you all for watching. If you liked this video, like and subscribe. If you hated it, understandable, dislike the video, become a dedicated hater, and hate on every single piece of media I do. I also stream 4 days a week on Twitch, so check me out there. Thank you all, Ebonhard out. Peace.